This video tutorial demonstrates the configuration and processes associated with taxes in the accounting application of Odoo. Odoo has localization modules for certain countries that will preload your default taxes into the database. To check and see if your country has a module, go to the app's application. Once there, search for your country name to see if there's an available localization module. If there is, it will include a basic chart of accounts and a local tax list. Click Install on the module. Now navigate to the Accounting app. To review your taxes, navigate to Configuration, Accounting Taxes. Once there, you'll see a list view of all active configured taxes for sales or purchase. Many are tempted to remove the default sales tax or otherwise modify it to meet a specific use case. We recommend a more flexible approach, which involves using Fiscal Positions to apply the appropriate tax, or no tax, if taxes would not apply to the order. To use this approach, you'll make some simple changes to the default sales tax. Click into the records with the tax type Sales and change the tax name to Product Sales Tax. Change the amount to 0.0000%. Change the label on invoices to Sales Tax. Change the tax group to Taxes if it was previously set to something more specific. When done, click Save button. Repeat this process for the tax with the Purchase tax scope. The product sales tax will act as a generic tax that will be applied to all sale orders without impacting the amount of tax that gets applied with it. The product purchase tax will be added, respectively, to purchase orders. Click on a tax to view its configuration. We will review the product sales tax as an example. Once there, click Edit to see all of the available options. Tax name. This is the name of the tax and serves as a unique identifier. For example, if you are creating a VAT tax, you could name it VAT 15%. Tips to write the tax name. Use clear and specific names to make it easy to identify the tax during transactions. Tax computation. This determines how the tax amount is calculated. There are several options. Group of taxes. This groups multiple subtaxes together under one tax. Use case. When multiple taxes apply simultaneously, such as a federal tax and a state tax. For example, a combined tax of 20% that includes 15% VAT and 5% service tax. Fixed. A fixed tax amount is applied, regardless of the product price. Use case. Environmental fees, shipping surcharges, or flat rate taxes. For example, a $5 recycling fee added to every sale. Percentage of the price. The tax is calculated as a percentage of the product price. Use case. Common for sales taxes like VAT or GST. For example, 15% VAT on a product priced at $100 results in a $15 tax. Percentage of price tax included. The tax is a portion of the total price, assuming the price already includes the tax. Use case. Useful when prices are advertised as tax inclusive. For example, for a tax-inclusive price of $115 with a 15% tax, the tax amount is $15 and the product price is $100. Active. This option toggles between active and archived. When a tax is not in use, it should be archived rather than deleted. Tax type. Defines the context in which the tax is used. Options for tax types are Sales. For taxes applied to sales transactions. Purchases. For taxes applied to purchase transactions. None. For taxes that do not fit into sales or purchase contexts. Use case. If you deal with specific taxes for purchases, e.g., import duties, or sales, e.g., VAT, select the corresponding type. Tax scope. Restricts the tax to certain types of transactions. Options. Goods. Applies the tax only to physical products. Services. Applies the tax only to services. Both. Allows the tax for both goods and services. For example, if a tax is specific to tangible goods like electronics, choose Goods. Amount. The numerical value used in the tax computation. For percentage of price, enter the percentage value, e.g., 15 for 15%. For fixed, enter the fixed amount, e.g., 5 for $5. Set the amount to 0% if you're using Fiscal Positions to map taxes dynamically. Under the Definition tab, you'll see the following fields. Distribution for invoices. This section deals with how taxes are handled and distributed across accounts when creating invoices. Here's a breakdown of each component. Percentage. This indicates the portion of the tax collected that should be allocated to the specified account. For example, if the total tax is $100 and the percentage for an account is set at 60%, $60 will be distributed to that account. Based on. Each distribution line requires a criterion to calculate the tax base. By default, it uses the first line. You can adjust this based on specific requirements, like whether the tax is calculated on the subtotal or another amount. Account. This is the account where the tax amount will be posted. If left empty, the system uses the product's income account by default. For instance, if the product's income account is sales revenue, the tax will be distributed there. Tax grids. Tax grids are used for tax reporting purposes. If your country requires tax reports, you can select a specific grid that will automatically generate the report. For example, a VAT grid might track all VAT collected for monthly filing. Distribution for credit notes. Credit notes, also known as refunds or adjustments, have a similar structure for tax distribution, but there are a few additional rules. Percentage. Just like with invoices, this specifies the portion of the tax refunded that goes to a specific account. For example, if the total tax on a credit note is $50 and the distribution percentage is 100%, the entire $50 will go to the account specified in that line. Based on. This determines how the tax is calculated for each credit note entry. The default is the first line, but you can customize it. For example, you may want the tax on a credit note to be based on the original invoice's taxable amount. Account specifies where the refunded tax will be posted. If left blank, the product's income account is used. For example, a refunds revenue account might be used to track adjustments. Tax grids. Similar to invoices, tax grids help generate tax reports for credit notes. If your country requires you to report VAT refunds, the grid ensures accurate reporting. Applicable code. This determines whether the tax is applied or not. You can set the result variable to true to apply the tax or false to skip it. For example, if a tax only applies to specific products or regions, you can use this variable to dynamically include or exclude it. Good to know. The totals under distribution for invoices and distribution for credit notes must balance each other out, and the tax accounts should be the same unless you have very rare circumstances. Additionally, the order of entries and the number of lines must also match. Under the Advanced Options tab, you'll see the following fields. Label on invoices. This is the name or description of the tax that appears on customer invoices when this tax is applied. For example, if you set the label as VAT 15%, customers will see this label next to the tax amount on their invoice. Tax group. This allows you to categorize taxes into groups. Tax groups are useful for grouping multiple taxes on invoices or sale orders, especially when summarizing taxes in reports. For example, Group 1, taxes for standard taxes. Group 2, eco-taxes for environmental levies. On invoices, all taxes under a group might be displayed as one summarized amount. Recommendation. Create a simple taxes group for most cases to simplify tax management. Include in analytic cost. If this option is enabled, the amount of the tax will be recorded in the analytic account of the invoice line. This is helpful for cost tracking in projects or departments. For example, I have a scenario where an invoice line is assigned to the marketing department analytic account. Then the result is the tax amount will also be tracked in the same analytic account for accurate cost attribution. Included in price. If selected, this tax will be included in the price of the product or service. For example, product price, $115, tax inclusive. Tax rate, 15%. In result, the system calculates the base price as $100 and tax as $15. Use this option when prices are displayed as tax inclusive to customers. Affect base of subsequent taxes. When enabled, the base amount for subsequent taxes will include this tax. For example, Tax 1, 10% applied to $100, base amount is $100, so tax is $10. Tax 2. 5% applied on the tax included amount of $110. Base amount is now $110, so tax is $5.50. Base affected by previous taxes. This allows earlier taxes, lower sequence taxes, to affect the calculation of this tax. For example, Tax 1. 15% applied to $100. Base amount is $100, so tax is $15. Tax 2. 10% applied on $115. Tax includes the previous tax's result. This is typically used in jurisdictions where taxes are cumulative. When you're done, click Save button. Good to know. Disable automatic taxes. If you want to clear all taxes from appearing automatically on invoices or vendor bills, navigate to Configuration Settings. Under the Taxes section, you will see default taxes for both sales and purchases. If you remove both of those entries, no tax amount will be applied to product sales or purchases automatically. When you're done, click Save button. Good to know. Understanding tax groups. Tax groups can greatly improve the readability of taxes on invoice and sale order PDFs. For example, a customer purchasing a croissant and a dozen cookies. There are 2 associated taxes. Sales tax 6.3%. Food waste tax 3%. The first, sales tax, is in the taxes tax group, and the latter, food waste, is in its own tax group dedicated to displaying food waste taxes as a separate tax item to customers on the invoice. When taxes are in a tax group, the total for the tax group and its name will be totaled and listed below the subtotal on the invoice's PDF. If you only have general sales and purchasing taxes, we recommend using the generic taxes group to keep things simple. I hope you all have a clear understanding of the concepts covered in this video. If you have any questions or queries, feel free to leave a comment below. For more support, please subscribe, share, and like the video. And don't forget to click the bell icon to stay updated on my latest releases.